alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Muhammad Wardan, and this is my presentation video for my final year project. Uh, so, uh, um, my project is online document management system for oral examination. It is a platform for students and staff of the Faculty of Computing in UTM. For supervisors, examiners, chairpersons, cleric can use it, and the project can be used to aid the processes of Viva and to upload students' documents. So for the introduction, Viva is a university examination type in which it is orally conducted and it is compulsory. So the students answer the questions in speech rather than writing. So it is important to be conducted for the master students in the Faculty of Computing UTM. The project objectives are just as follow: to study and observe the requirements from the current systems for the system, and to design and develop and integrate all system elements to produce an efficient and reliable system, and to test and validate the developed system against users of the system, which include the supervisor, Viva examiner, and chairperson, clerics, and the postgraduate students. The project goal is to develop an online management system that can be used to assist the admin, cleric, chairperson, examiners, supervisors, and students in managing the processes of oral examination Viva, and help the students to submit the essential Viva documents, and to monitor the students' progress. Furthermore, to provide the supervisor the ability to select the chairperson and examiners for the Viva examination. So the presentation content of this video will be the problem background, the proposed solution, the project importance and scope, current system analysis, the development methodology, technology used, architecture, development environment, system development, and system testing. So a problem background. In the problem background section, I am going to discuss what is Viva, why Viva is important, who are doing the Viva, how they do it, and the problems that are faced. So what is Viva? Viva is a university examination type in which it is orally conducted and compulsory. So the students answer the questions in speech rather than writing. It is performed by postgraduate students. So why the Viva is important? Viva provide a chance for students to defend his thesis, as well as justifying the thesis, and show the engagement of students in the academic discussion with the examiners, and also give the examiners a certainty that the thesis and the report are belonging to the students, and also to look if there is any issues in the thesis, and also it helped to determine whether the student has met the requirements for the degree, and it is important for the students to be able to get their master degree. All who are doing the Viva? All master students in the Faculty of Computing, Mixed Mode and Research Mode need to do their Viva. So the current approach that is done in UTM is done traditionally. So the students need to submit the dissertation report, presentation slide, and the video uh, through Google Drive or an email. And or before Corona, it used to be submitted in a hard copy physically uh, in the office. And the selection of a chairperson and examiner also is done in a traditional process by the supervisor. So what are the problems faced during the traditional method? So the ambiguity of the systems procedures, the potential of document loss because there is no centralized database to uh, keep the files, the difficulty of following the student progress, managing examiners are not well managed, the difficulty of following the status of the students and examiners. Also, it's time consuming for students and for the supervisor. Uh, yes. So the proposed solution is an online document management system for oral examination, ESC Viva. It is a system that will transform the Viva processes from being traditional to be performed online. The proposed system will help the students, supervisors, examiners, also chairperson and admin clerics in managing the Viva methods in a more flexible approach. So the project scope are the system will be an online web-based system with email verification. The system is used by the admin cleric, chairperson, examiners, supervisors, and students. The system is used to manage the documents between the students and supervisors. The system is used to select a chairperson and examiners. The system is used to issue the oral examination Viva. The system is used to issue the students' results and access control, authentication, authorization, input validation, and hashing have been implemented to make the system more secure. As for the current system analysis, the current system is considered traditionally, whereby the processes are still implemented in the same way that has been done before the MCO, uh, except that there is some changes. When the postgraduate students in all taught courses and mixed mode want to accomplish the Viva exam, they need to make several procedures. However, if a student think that he is ready and willing to do the voice Viva exam, then he should start the processes. And the students need to fill the form, then submit his thesis. After that, the student will be given a notice of submission. The student can then set in a motion for the appointment of examiners. And this system is these procedures are done traditionally, especially in UTM, where the students need to submit the documents to the supervisors through Google Drive or email or physically. Also, the selection of examiners is done in a traditional approach in UTM. As for the University of Manchester, uh, The Viva oral exam is done by all postgraduate students, and the procedures of doing the Viva oral exam are by filling a notice of submission form, which is done through the university website. And the Viva process of submitting the thesis are performed online using the university progression monitoring system in their website. As for the University Malaya Bahang, uh, the voice notice of submission form is done electronically, not like UTM, where the students need to submit the form manually. And the submission of the thesis and other documents is being done manually. As for the development methodology, RUP, which is short term for Rational Unified Process, is which is software engineering methodology that can be used to develop a system. So RUP is used for developing the system. So RUP processes model is divided into four phases: inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. So in the inception phase, the project's idea and scope are stated and determined if it's worth constructing by the developer. As for the elaboration phase, it is when evaluating the resources and the application of the project, and the construction phase is for the development of the project, and the project should be the project should be designed, written, tested, and should be completed by this phase. And finally, the transition phase is the phase for releasing and publishing the project for the publics. And here are some features of the system. And the system has a login page where the users such as students, supervisor, examiners, and chairperson, admin cleric can log in. Also, there is a sign up page where the users can register based on their type. Also, the users will be able to reset their password. They need just to click on forget password, put their email, and they will receive an email that can guide them to change their password. And each user will be able to edit his information, and for example, the name, major, and extra. The student will be able also to upload the Viva documents. The student's main part in the system is to upload the Viva documents to the supervisor. And there are three type of documents that the students need to upload: the dissertation report, presentation slide, and presentation video. Also, the supervisor will be able to select a chairperson and examiners for the students through the system. The supervisor will be able to choose a chairperson from a list that is given, and also choose an examiner. And after that, there will be an email sent to the chairperson and examiners to inform them about the selection. After the selection of examiners and chairperson, and after approving, the admin cleric will be able to issue oral Viva examination uh, through the system by giving by inputting the information such as date, time, and the venue. And also, after conducting the Viva examination, the examiners and the chairperson will be able to put the student results through the website, and also give the comments, write the comments and the supervisor will be able to view them. And here are some of the technologies that are used in on my project. So HTML is used, and also CSS, JavaScript for the front end, and for the basic uh, and they are the basics of the project. As for the backend, I used Node.js, and I used the templating engine for JavaScript, which is known as handlebars. So handlebars is used to render the pages, and the database that is used is MongoDB. MongoDB database is very helpful. It is easy to use, and it is also uh, good to be used in especially with Node.js. Also, I used GitHub to as a reference. So GitHub, I use it as a reference to help me to solve problems, and to uh, write if I have problems so that I can solve, and to keep track on the project and processes. So the finally the text editors the text editor I used was Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is one of the amazing programs that can be used especially in the development. So the project architecture. So this project was implemented using the model view controllers architecture. So basically each and every component was implemented separately for the purpose of taking advantages of this architecture, and the and to have a reuse of the code, and a more and better environment. And the implementation of each component was by implementing the view and model and controllers. The view model control what the users see and interact with, and the model is used to present the data in a simple approach, implementing the functions and to convert the model's data formats, and yes, the controllers are used to be used by the user to manage and manage the processes and control the view components. And this is my development environment. So this is snippets of my code, and where I have a folder that is my app, which is the container of my project. You can see that I have controllers, helpers, middlewares, model, and views, and the main file which is index.js. So the system development is the system is developed using Node.js, MongoDB, and handlebars. So I used Node.js and for the backend coding, and handlebars for the view, and MongoDB to store all the documents for the users, and exam, and everything. So this is the use case diagram for the proposed system. So the use case diagram specified to describe the system by presenting the actors that are involved in the system and their interaction with the system. And the system has five main actors that are the admin cleric, chairperson, supervisor, examiner, and the student. The actor who is an admin can manage the system and issue the exam and view the students' information. The admin clerk also can assign the supervisor to students and issue the oral examination details such as date, venue, time, and students actor represent the postgraduate students in the Faculty of Computer Science, and the supervisor can perform several actions such as selecting examiners, viewing, downloading the students' documents. The examiners will be able to approve or reject any selection that is made by any chairperson and by a supervisor, sorry, and all users will be able to edit their information and uh, profile. As for describing the organization of the data in the database and deciding what type of data to include and store, and the relationship between these different entities in the database, we need to have entity relationship diagram to demonstrate the documents. So the database design of the system is important because it shows where the data is stored, and there are 9 different basic types of tables to store the system data. The main elements and their relationship in the database. The documents are admin cleric, chairperson, examiner, supervisor, student, document, exam information, results, and user. However, the user consists of student, supervisor, examiner, chairperson, and admin cleric. So the student entity represent the students in the Faculty of Computer Science, and the examiner also the examiner entity has the detail of the examiner, and the supervisor entity has the detail of the supervisors, and the admin cleric represent the admin cleric in the faculty, and the chairperson represent the chairperson in the Faculty of Computer Science in UTM. As for the security elements that have been implemented in this system, to make this system as secure as possible, uh, several security elements has been implemented. So the security of the system is essential to ensure that the user's information are safe and cannot be accessed by unauthenticated users. The security elements that have been implemented in this system are access control, authentication and authorization, hashing, CAPTCHA, cross-site request forgery, CSRF, input validation, logs, secure socket layer. So access control is significant to prevent users from accessing other users' information. Access control authorize the appropriate level of accesses and allowed actions that are associated with the user's ID. As for the authentication and authorization, authentication is when verifying the identity of the user and is performed using an email and password, and authorization is to control the user's action in the system. For example, the student cannot be able to perform actions that are, for example, specified for the supervisor or examiners. Hashing, it is important to encrypt the user's password to protect them from attacks such as man-in-the-middle attacks, or for example, if the database is hacked, the hacker will not be able to know the user's password. And CAPTCHA is implemented for the purpose of securing several security threats that might affect the system. It is good to use the captcha because it is also good to because it secure the integrity of the online polls, which is going to prevent hackers from using, for example, robots to send in repeated false responses, which is another attack captcha prevent us from is brute force attacks. Cross-site request forgery is a web security vulnerability that might allow the attacker to convince people to do activities that they did not plan to take or make. So the attacker may be allowed to partially bypass the origin policy, which is intended to keep websites away from interfering with one another. And also input validation. Input validation is significant, and it is important part of the security of any system. So input validation uh, input validation is important to ensure the most security threats are removed if the validation is properly implemented. Input validation can ensure that only properly formed data can enter an information system workflow, which prevent, for example, incorrect or bad data from entering and staying in the database and causing downstream components to fail. So the input validation must be implemented is implemented in this system. Also logs. So logs have been implemented because if a system operations cannot be audited and checked, then the system cannot be considered uh, that secure. Logs can help us if there is a security incident that requires information to verify the extent of damage. And finally, secure socket layer. SSL is implemented in this system. It is the standard technology that keep the internet connection secure and safeguard any sensitive data that is being sent between two systems, which stop criminals from reading and modifying any information that is transferred through, including any potential or personal details. As for the system testing, three types of testings were conducted: the white box testing, the black box testing, and the user acceptance testing. As for the white box testing, so white box testing is a testing method that is done when the tester knows about the code of the system to examine and to test the functions of the system and to test the expected outcome. So this I have done the white box testing, and this table explain the functions that been tested. As for the black box testing, so black box testing is a testing approach that was conducted to test functionalities and the flow of the system. But the difference that black box testing, the tester who is testing the system does not know about the internal codes and implementation of the system. So and there are students who from the Faculty of Computing have assisted me in this testing for the black box to test the functions and the flow of the system. As for the user accepting testings, so the usability for the system was evaluated through users from UTM. Students tested the system interface and functions, and the system functionalities also. So here the response of the students, we can see that there are 15 students that assisted me for the user acceptance testing. uh, I would like to thank my supervisor, Dr. Siti Hajar Atman, for all the help and guidance, and everyone who supported me and helped me developing this system. And thank you for watching. Thank you very much.